Democracy and authoritarianism are opposites, not just in politics, but in spirit. Democracy is built on trust in people. Authoritarianism is built on fear of them. One believes that citizens can think, choose, and lead. The other believes they must be led, controlled, and watched. Every nation must choose which side of that line it wants to stand on. Democracy is noisy, messy, and slow by design. It depends on disagreements. It allows competing ideas to collide so truth can emerge. Authoritarianism calls that weakness. It promises order, simplicity, and strength, but at a terrible cost, your voice. The founders of the United States understood this danger well. They had lived under a king who claimed divine authority. When they wrote the Constitution, they built in guardrails, checks and balances, separation of powers, free speech, free press, and elections. They knew power was like fire, useful when contained, deadly when left to burn unchecked. George Washington proved that principle well when he refused to become a monarch after the Revolution. He stepped down from command and later from the presidency, showing that leadership in a democracy means service, not ownership. That act of humility became one of the most powerful rebukes to tyranny in world history. Around the world, the same lesson repeats. When democracies fail, authoritarianism fills the vacuum. Germany's Weimar Republic collapsed because citizens lost faith in it. Economic crisis, political infighting, and propaganda paved the way for Hitler. In Chile, General Pinochet rose after years of unrest. In Russia, democracy withered under corruption until a strong man promised stability. The pattern is always the same. Fear replaces trust, and the people hand over their power. The warning signs are easy to spot. Attacks on journalists, the demonization of minorities, distrust in elections, and the elevation of one man above the law. When those things become normal, democracy is already in danger. But the story doesn't have to end that way. Democracies fail when people give up on them, and they rise when people fight for them. Franklin Roosevelt once said, "The only sure bulwark of continuing liberty is a government strong enough to protect the interests of the people, and the people strong enough and well informed to maintain its sovereign control over its government." That balance between power and accountability is the foundation of freedom. The problem today is that many people take democracy for granted. They see it as permanent, like gravity, when in truth, it's more like a garden. It dies if you stop tending it. Misinformation, polarization, and voter suppression are the weeds that choke it. Cynicism is the drought that dries it out. The cure isn't violence or despair. It's participation. It's voting, volunteering, running for office, and speaking up. It's choosing truth over comfort and compassion over cruelty. Authoritarianism thrives when people decide politics doesn't matter. Democracy thrives when people realize that politics is simply how we shape our shared life together. Freedom doesn't mean you always get your way. It means you always get your say. Around the world, nations that defend open debate, rule of law, and human rights tend to be more peaceful and prosperous. Freedom isn't chaos. It's the structure that lets us disagree without destroying one another. And that's the real test before us. Can we defend a system that allows voices we dislike, values we question, and people we don't always understand? If we can, democracy will endure. If we can't, authoritarianism will fill the void and call it order. The battle for freedom has never been about armies. It's about attention. It's about remembering that liberty survives only when citizens refuse to surrender it piece by piece. Every generation faces the same choice: fear or freedom, silence or courage, obedience or democracy. Which side we choose decides what kind of America we become.